Good evening. My name is Julie Lecklider. I'm here with my husband Mark. I'm presenting my final speech for oral communications for the fall semester. There's a public health problem being faced by a third of our nation's children. This problem is having an effect on the mental, physical health of our children, as well as the academic performance of the children in our communities. This problem is bullying. By a show of hands, who in this room has been bullied at least one time in their life? About 1 in 3. Bullying is one of the most prevalent issues among America's youth today. Even if you have not been personally bullied, I bet you can think of at least one person who has. I know I can. Knowing that bullying is an issue that affects so many children should upset every person in this room. But what can we do about it, you might be asking? The best thing that we as adults can do is become aware of bullying behaviors and take it upon ourselves to educate the adults and the children in our communities about how to handle bullying. It is important for us to define bullying so that we can all understand what is at stake for our youth here. Bullying happens between two peers who have an imbalance of power. Power can be measured in terms of age, popularity, physical size, or psychological strength. An example of this power imbalance could be an older student who teases a younger student on the bus and forces him to move seats day and day again. Bullying should not be mistaken for conflict, however. A quarrel between two individuals is not a bullying situation because typically there's a level of equality between those two people. Also, people who are having an argument have the skills to resolve their issues. Bullying is deliberate. A bully intends to cause harm or distress to his or her victims. In fact, experts are now recognizing bullying to be the most prevalent form of low-level violence in schools. If allowed to continue without any repercussions, bullying severely compromises school safety by creating an environment with a heightened disposition to crime. Also, bullying is an ongoing pattern. These kids are bullied day and day again, over and over, repetitive behaviors. Now, bullying can be both direct and indirect. What kind of things might constitute direct bullying?
Maybe shoving or poking, pushing or tripping, name calling, or even teasing.
Those are great answers. Anything that you feel threatened physically is most likely going to be a direct form of bullying. So what kind of actions might constitute indirect bullying?
Maybe social or psychological abuse, spreading rumors about someone, exclusion from a group or groups, tarnishing of someone's reputation.
Great, those are all great examples. So here's just a little graph of some types of bullying. According to the National Crime Victimization Survey, the people who participated, the two main types of bullying were being made fun of, where 17.6% of students were experiencing that specific kind of bullying. And kids having rumors spread about them had 18.3% happening within the schools. Now, some other ones were being threatened with harm, excluded from activities on purpose, being forced to do things they didn't want to do. So now that we know the technical definition of bullying, I want everybody to think of an effect that bullying might have on the people that are being victimized. What might be an example?
Low self-esteem, or maybe even severe end of it, suicidal thoughts.
That's definitely true. So bullying definitely manifests differently for everybody. But I can tell you for sure, one of the main reasons that bullying is such an important issue for me personally is that my younger sister was bullied throughout school. Now, I had no idea how often or the effect that it really had on her until we were adults. So there was a particular instance in the first grade where a little girl was picking on her day in and day out about her weight. There was a day when the little girl even went as far to ask my sister when she was going to have her baby, insinuating that she was pregnant in the first grade. Now, this particular ridicule is something that my sister still carries with her to this day. I know that low self-esteem is definitely an effect of bullying that a lot of children feel. So whenever you're being told things about yourself, whether they're true or not, you start to feel that they're true and you start to have less value for yourself. In school, bullying disrupts a classroom activity and harms children's ability to learn. Bullying has also been associated with higher dropout rates, and as a low level of violence, bullying creates an unsafe and unstable school environment, and it can lead to more serious types of violence. This affects children who are being bullied, children who witness bullying, and bullies themselves. Effects similar to those caused by child abuse are being found among victims of bullying. Victims suffer from lower psychological well-being, poor social adjustment, and overall distress. These children are frequently experiencing emotional problems such as depression and anxiety, and sometimes these lead to alcohol and drug addictions in high school. Also, there are physical effects of bullying. These could include disruption of sleep, headaches, stomach aches, bedwetting, and fatigue. Researchers have noticed that bullying causes changes in the stress response system of the brain. This affects cognitive function and one's ability to regulate their emotions. So this makes children who are bullied and bullies themselves more likely to contemplate, idealize, and attempt suicide. Now, one of the reasons why more steps aren't being taken by adults to stop bullying is because it can be hard to identify. So now that we have an understanding of what bullying is and the effect it can have, how can we identify it in our day-to-day lives and make a change? Researchers have found that there are certain characteristics that are shared by bullies and their victims. What kind of attributes do you think might be shared by the two?
Overly confident, or maybe lack of empathy.
Yeah, those are definitely things that bullies feel. Whenever we're talking about kids who are bullied and who are bullies, often these kids come from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Also, these kids tend to have issues with their parents. These issues could include divorced parents, overly authoritative parents, or harsh or abusive parents. Boys are more likely than girls to commit and receive direct bullying, including pushing and name-calling, for example, where girls are more likely to commit and be targets of indirect bullying, such as spreading rumors or being excluded from a group. Girls are also more likely to be bullied sexually. And there are a few main characteristics that bullies do not share with their victims. The behaviors of bullying will help adults to see what kind of kids might be the most likely to be bullies. Bullies are opportunistic, they're impulsive, dominating, and they're often aggressive, even in just day-to-day interactions. These children are not afraid to use whatever means they need to in order to achieve the dominance that they want. Bullies tend to lack empathy in general, which makes it easy for them not to feel bad for the people who they're bullying. Bullies are usually overly confident, and this helps them to maintain their popularity and achieve dominance in the social structure at school. Teachers and parents often classify bullying as an act of aggression, but as we've learned here, there are definitely many other issues at hand. There are three main things to look at when you're trying to accurately assess a bullying situation. The first would be intentional cruelty. Cruelty can come from mean words or actions, or it might present as a group of children excluding someone at the lunch table. Power imbalance comes mainly from social status. That is our second effect. So put simply, kids just want to be popular. What group a child comes from might be a reason for them to be bullied. Also, children who have disabilities or identify as part of the LGBTQ community are more likely to be bullied. Lastly, and the one that's definitely the most important to recognize, is repetition. From the repetition of bullying comes all the physical and psychological issues that we talked about prior. So everyone is responsible for ending bullying. It's important that we make children aware that we are watching out for the behaviors of bullying and that we are going to hold them accountable for making school a safer place. Adults need to make sure that we are models for getting rid of bullying. So the Urban Institute's study on bullying revealed that only 17% of victims sought help after being bullied. Now, all of these kids need to be aware that there is someone that they can turn to. Children seem to go to their parents first, then friends, rather than an adult that can help them in these situations. According to the National Website for Bullying Prevention, there are some things that adults can do. Helping kids understand bullying by talking about it regularly and teaching them how to stand up to bullying safely are both really important things. It's also important for us to encourage kids to do what they love. Activities, interests, and hobbies boost their confidence, and they help kids make friends with similar interests. We need to be models of how to treat others with kindness and respect. And we need to encourage kids to speak to a trusted adult if they are bullied or if they see someone being bullied. As far as communication, there are definitely some different things we can do. There's indirect conversation, like, how was your day? Who sits with you at the lunch table? What do you guys like to talk about? Or direct, like, what does bullying mean to you? What kind of kids do you think are bullies? Why do you think they bully people? And what do you usually do when you see bullying going on? It is so important that we actively teach kids to seek help, how to use their problem-solving skills, and how to avoid engaging with bullies. Children are so important, and they should be able to go to school with no worries except their schoolwork. With the proper tools and training, parents and teachers and children alike can all work together and end bullying. We must all report bullying and model proper behaviors for handling bullies. It is up to each and every one of us to make sure that we stop the escalation of bullying situations and defend the victims of these situations. Imagine a world where every child knows an adult that they can turn to for help and that they can have the communication skills to do just that. The best thing that we as adults can do is to become aware of the behaviors of bullying and take it upon ourselves to educate those around us about the problem of bullying. 1/3 of our nation's children should not be afraid to go to school. And worse, they shouldn't be coming home suicidal. It is time for us to help build a nation of children who don't have to be afraid of bullies.